Hi, and welcome to my IPS plus dissertation proposal presentation. And today I will be talking about my future plans about my IPS project and my dissertation direction. I named my presentation Collecting Narratives because essentially throughout my research, I will be collecting narratives from all around me and from movies, and I'll be building up my research that way. I will explain this. What am I exploring? What do I intend to focus my research on? For my IPS, I'm going to look into how and why narratives are derived and told, and I want to explore what forms a plot, so the event arcs of the stories. Where does it climax? Where does it go all wrong? Where does it rise? Etc. And I also want to look at the similarities between plots. For example, if a plot is overcoming the monster, or maybe it is the quest, there might be similar plots, and I kind of want to explore that according to Christopher Booker's 7 basic plots theory. So there's this chain of people having past traumas, and then these past traumas affecting them either negatively or positively or some way, and this determining the direction of their future lives and their behaviors and their social situations. So I want to look into that also in my IPS. And for my dissertation idea, I want to ask the questions of if all stories are original or copies of others in life and in narrative art too. And I want to know if we're repeating ourselves by retelling the 7 basic plots, like rags to riches, overcoming the monster, etc. Well, my dissertation is going to be focusing on a more research-based, theory-based discussion and discuss the theory of finite number of existing plots. My IPS is more related to past traumas and more of an emotional aspect of the narrative. For my IPS project, for my solid outcome, I am planning to form a story archive filled with narratives that I'm going to be collecting from people, friends, family, Instagram followers, and I will be conducting surveys to get these narratives, and I want to figure out what is the course of individual narrative and how people's past traumas affected these narratives, and I just want to look into plots and research the plots of these stories. And to collect information, collect narrative information for my story archive, I will tape myself telling stories, which will be video content, and I will take self-portraits and portraits of others, which will be photo and photo series. I will write down things. I will add content to my story archive in text form, and I will interpret some of these stories and make them into short graphic comic strips, and I will also utilize my own memories and anecdotes. It'll pretty much be a bundle of stories online and visual representation of stories. For a reading list, obviously I am going to be using the 7 basic plots by Christopher Booker because, especially for my dissertation, this will be the main book that I am going to get information on for categorizing the plots and exploring each plot characteristics. Also, I'm discussing this theory and looking all around me and deciding if it's true or not, speculating. And other than that, I have these 2 books which I think will help with giving me insight on characters and people's personalities and how they transform in the course of a plot. Same with this will give me more insight on people's emotional wounds and how it affects their narrative stories. These 2 books will be helpful on categorizing the plots that I find from movies and films, and these 2 books are 2 books that I really like as narratives and I think have exploring potential. One is a graphic novel and the other one is a short novel, and this is a writer that I really like. I think their narratives are worth of exploring and adding to my story archive too. And other than that, my obviously interests and inspirations and skills play a role. For example, because I want to do a photo series as a part of my story archive, I've already bought a DSLR to develop my photography skills over the summer, just as I shown in this page. And at the same time, for South London Story Lab, I really like dressing up, so I'm thinking of doing that too, disguises and taking my own pictures. I really loved being a part of the narrative myself. Being the artwork myself really made me realize I love impersonating and pretending. For my inspiration artists, there's Cindy Sherman, which is a master of self-portrait disguise, which I will look at her practices while taking self-portraits. Same with Yasumoto Morimuro. He's a master of disguise also in his artworks, various self-portraits. And Alex Box, who also came to our school for a talk. She's an excellent makeup artist, and I think I could observe her work and apply some skills to my photography taking skills and facial manipulation. And also, these are two Turkish artists, graphic novel artists that I really like, and I think while I'm interpreting stories in graphic novel mode, these could help me panel and narrative way better than I actually. And Marjane Satrapi is a master of both illustrating and narrating her own story. So if illustrating and narration goes together, that's exactly what I want to do. So I included her. For my timeline, I did a prospective timeline here, dividing each term into halves because I didn't have an exact date-to-date timeline in my mind, but as dissertation goes, I think I will definitely stick with this timeline. For example, starting the dissertation research in autumn term first half, and obviously finalizing before the deadline. I've included some feedback sessions with Victoria Ahrens like in the middle of here because I think it is important to get feedback on your work and develop your dissertation better. But for my IPS project, I'm thinking it would be okay if I had some more wiggle room because I will be collecting stories from people, conducting surveys as I go. It's not going to be like, okay, today I am going to get the videos done. Today I'm going to get the photos done. It's not going to be like that. I'm always going to be on the hunt for new narratives. And as I'm collecting them, if I deem them worthy of adding to my story archive as a body of work will build organically. Yeah, so like I said, the timeline is perspective, and I believe I will mostly stick to it, but I think this dissertation and IPS topic is going to work for me because stories and narratives are really something that I am interested in, especially when we did that workshop with Jeffrey in the park and we had to be 4 groups of people and create a narrative out of nowhere. I really enjoyed that. And this is pretty much going to be me exploring other people's lives, other people's stories, why we tell stories, and if stories can be fit into the 7 story archetypes, and if anything's original. And on the way, I think I might find some stuff about myself too, and how I narrate my own memories and events, and maybe who knows, like I could find my own story arc. Maybe I'm rebirth, maybe I'm overcoming the monster. Right now my story arc is not complete, but we will see. Thank you for listening. And here's my bibliography.